Hi students, today we are going to discuss about the pregnancy, placental function, lactation and contraception. Okay, let me enter into the topic. Okay, so now what is the object of this class? Today we are going to see about the pregnancy, isn't it? So we have to know about the what is the physiology of pregnancy, what are the physiological changes while during the pregnancy, and placental functions, what is the lactation, so what are the contraceptive methods which is present in the male and the female. So today we are going to cover all the objectives. Okay, now first of all we have to know what is a pregnancy. So the pregnancy is a mature oocyte is fertilized by a sperm, so that is a pregnancy. Okay, so actually the pregnancy is a most precious event in the life of the married woman, as it proves her fertile capability and bring completeness to her womanhood, isn't it? So the pregnancy occurs when a mature oocyte is fertilized by a sperm. So what happened? The introduction of the sperm into the female genital tract should ideally occur in the period of 2 days before and 1 days after the ovulations. This is because the sperm following the ejaculation into the vagina remains capable of fertilizing an egg usually 24 to 48 hours. So what is the reason? Through they may survive 3 to 5 days in the female genital tract, and the fertilizable life of the ovulated egg is about 24 hours only. And if ovulation will be occur, so that will be what will happen is the 14th day of cycle for conception to occur. The coitus should takes place the 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th day. Okay, so here important thing, don't confuse with the contraception and conception. So contraception is to prevent the ovulation, is a conception is a ovulation. Okay, so conception is a making the ovulation, and it's a contraception to prevent the ovulation. So next we are going to see about this one. So what are the cycles or what are the steps of the pregnancy? So here there is a ovum, and the sperm is going to be pierced in the ovum. It makes this fertilization and fusion of the eggs and sperms will becomes a pronuclei and becomes a zygote. It's going to make the cleavage and becomes a morula and blastocyst, and finally going to be implanted blastocyst. Actually, the physiology of the pregnancy is first the transport of the gametes, so transport of the egg and transport of the sperm. So following the ovulation, the oocyte is extruded onto the surface of the ovary and into the abdominal cavity. So the fimbriae are located. Are you able to see here? This fimbriae has been located at the end of the fallopian tube. Actually, pick up the oocytes. So what will happen? The fimbriae contains the smooth muscles or line the ciliated epithelium, isn't it? So immediately after the ovulation, smooth muscles of the fimbriae contract, so which makes the fimbriae end in the tube migrate close to the oocytes. So what will happen finally? So the eggs takes about the 4 days to reach the uterus and the fertilization to occur, and it must naturally happen in the distal portion of the fallopian tube, and because of the short viability of the unfertilization egg. And next is the sperm. So during the act of the intercourse, so what will happen? Some sperms are propelled from the vagina into the cervix, and many enter into the cervical canal after the sexual act. So what happens? Why it cannot able to, everything is cannot able to enter there? So the usual transmit time of the sperm to reach the fallopian tube is 4 to 6 hours. Within the few minutes of ejaculation, sperms have been detected in the uterus and tubes. So many sperms die in the vagina itself. So what is the reason behind that? So due to it is a acidic environment is going to be died. Okay, so then this is some of the sperms only is come and make this pairs, make the fertilization. Okay, and Next, we are going to see the fertilizations. The fusions, it begins. So what is the fusion of the sperm with the egg? So it begins with the fusion of the sperm and egg. So many sperms move between the cumulus cells and to bind the zone of felicity of the egg. So what will happen? The sperms contains a many such protein, therefore the bind simultaneously. So many receptors on the zona felicida. So the followed by that is become as a zygote. Okay, the zygote formations. So the sperm penetration of the egg is called as a fertilization, isn't it? So the fertilized egg complete its second meiotic division in the next few hours. So that is a important thing. So what will happen here? So the second meiotic division, the second polar body is formed, which is excluded from the ooplasm. So remaining haploid nucleus contain the 23 chromosomes. So already know about this one. There is a 22 autosome and one is a sex chromosome, isn't it? So here the 23 chromosomes is transformed into the female pronucleus into the 3 hours. So what will happen after that? So there is a cleavage will be started. So the fertilized egg otherwise called a zygote. So we can call it as a fertilized egg or as a zygote. So what will happen? It remains in the fallopian tube for the 3 to 4 days. While in the fallopian tube, a number of mitotic cell division takes place. This process is called as a mitotic cell division, is known as a cleavage. Are you understand? So the cell division or unusual is in that the no cell growth take places here. Actually, it will be only as a cell division. The first cell division takes place at 24 hours to produce the two unequal sized cell. The structure called as a blastomere. Then each cell is divided into form of the 4 cell conceptors, 8 cell conceptors and morula. So what will happen? The twin is formed, dividing the cells grow into the independent cell masses. Okay, and followed by that there is a blastocyst formation will be occur. So what is a blastocyst formation and what is the implanted blastocyst? So the morula after the morula is entered into uterus about the 4 days of fertilization. After reaching the uterus, so the conceptus floats free in the intrauterine fluid for the approximately 3 days during which it the further undergoes the cell divisions, isn't it? Okay, so and after that is going to become as a implantation, otherwise called as a early development, isn't it? So next, so what is the mechanism of the implantations? So the implantation occurs due to the almost simultaneously changes in the blastocyst that is to be as a implanted to the endometrium that allows the implantation to occur and interaction of the blastocyst with the endometrium. I hope you'll be understand. So what is the stages of the become the person of the pregnant? Okay, so that going first going to be I have to tell again this overview. So listen carefully. There is a ovum is going to be expelled out by the fimbriae, and so here the ovary, and so after that followed by that, so there is a while during the intercourse the sperm is going to be propelled into via the vagina and enter into the ovum. So by the piercing, so it becomes as a fusion of the egg and sperm, it becomes a pronuclei, and this is going to be a fertilization egg. The other is called as a zygote. So what will happen after that? It's going to make the cell division, and is a multiple cell division is called as a morula, and after that is going to become as a blastocyst, and following by the blastocyst there is a implanted blastocyst. So this is the steps of the pregnancy. So next we are going to see about this one. So what are the changes will occurs while during the pregnancy? Okay, so what are the body changes or what are the physiological changes during the pregnancy? So energy changes will be there, weight will be changed, cardiovascular system will be altered, and the respiratory systems, hematological, GI tract, and urinary and endocrine. So these are the changes occurs in the during pregnancy. Next, we are going to see about this. So what are the energy? Followed by we are going to see one by one. So energy consumption is a 15% of increase the energy requirement during the pregnancy, and further increase during lactation up to 3000 kilocalorie per day. Weight increases, average increases 12.5 kg. Main increase in the second half of the pregnancy. Every week this half kg is going to be increases. Okay, and followed by that we are going to see the weight increases. So due to there is some divisions, so what are the areas going to be increases, so along with that the body also going, body weight also going to be increases. And important thing is the blood volume. So what will happen here is the blood changes in the blood volume. So there is a rapid and significant increase in the total blood volume in pregnancy. So what happened around the 30% of the pre-pregnant stage, which occurs due to the increase of both the plasma and the cell component. So that is a reason that is the blood volume is going to be increases. And both the plasma and RBC volume will increase, but because of more increase in plasma there is a relative fall in the RBC and hemoglobin concentrations. These are the hematological health changes. And followed by that we are going to see the cardiovascular changes. So the major hemodynamic changes in the pregnancy, the increase the cardiac output. So cardiac output will be the starts increasing in the early phase of the pregnancy, significantly high in the end of the first trimester. So how much is around 40 percentage. Next is followed with this heart rate, it be increases by the 10 to 15 percent, reaching its peak at the term. So stroke volume of increases about 30 percentage, which peak at 24 weeks of pregnancy. Increase the stroke volume is mainly due to the increase of end-diastolic volume, which occurs due to the increase of venous return as a consequence of the increasing the blood volume. If there is a blood volume be increases, then every cardiovascular system is going to make the alteration. And is a blood pressure level. So now we are going to see about this about the pressure. So systolic blood pressure as well as the diastolic blood pressure. So systolic blood pressure be increased in the pregnancy, which is mainly due to the increase in the cardiac output. So the increase occurs more in the second and third trimesters. So what about the diastolic blood pressure? Diastolic blood pressures fall slowly, reaching at about the 20th week, which is then slowly increases to normal by term. Okay, so and then followed by that there's a pulse pressure or is wide due to increase in the systolic and decrease in the diastolic blood pressure. And next is the respiratory changes. Respiratory changes is to improve the supply of the oxygen to the fetus and remove the carbon dioxide from the fetus. Okay, so the most striking effect is increase in the minute ventilation. The increase begins of the early part of the pregnancy, and here the increase in ventilation due to stimulation of the respiratory center by the estrogen. The estrogen is going to be stimulating the respiratory center. That's why there is going to be alteration or changes in the respiratory system. And respiratory rate is unchanged. And what will happen, the residual volume decreases by the 20 percentage, and is the inspiratory reserve volume increases. And so what happens in the diffusion capacity of the alveolar membrane does not change in the significantly. So but in third trimester, in spite of the elevation of the diaphragm due to increase in the size of the uterus, so ventilation is impaired significantly. Okay, and followed by that we are going to see the changes in the gastrointestinal tract. So GI motility is a decrease as a result of gastric emptying time is being increased. So what are the reasons behind that? So due to the increase transit time for chyme to pass through the intestinal lumen, so more water is absorbed that leads to constipation. Okay, and the third term is enlarged uterus pressures on the stomach, so which increase the intragastric pressure. And finally, so there is a propulsion of the acid gastric content into the esophagus is a loading the to reflex esophagitis. Okay, so that is a thing, and along with that there is a decreased gastric motility cause nausea, and decrease the motility of the large intestine cause of constipation, because there is a high water retention takes places. And next, as a urinary systems. So here is the renal blood flow increases the 35 a percentage of the parallel of the increase the blood volume and cardiac output. So there is a remarkable increases the glomerular filtration rate. A significant increases in the glomerular filtration rate occurs in the early as the second week, which is reaches in the about 40 percentage. So in spite of the increased glomerular filtration rate and sodium load ability to excrete the sodium and water remain normal in the normal pregnancy. Okay, so here at the end of the term, the renal blood flow and glomerular filtration rate comes to as a normal, and blood urea decreases from the 4.3 to 3.1 millimole per liter. And followed by there is a endocrine changes. So here the endocrine changes, initially the progesterone produced by the corpus luteum is just estrogen produced by the ovaries, cortisol produced by the maternal adrenals. So by this one is going to make the alteration in the pituitary secretion, thyroid secretion, adrenocortical secretion, and is the calcium metabolism. This is going to make the alterations. So, and followed by that we are going to see this progesterone and estrogen. So progesterone reduces the smooth muscle tone, reduces the uterine tone, and estrogen will be induces the growth of uterus, enhances the breast development, alter the connective tissue, stretches cervixes, relax joint capsule and water retention, and may reduce the sodium secretions also. And here we are going to see about the thyroid function. So what will happen in the thyroid function? So the thyroid shows a moderate enlargement. Is estrogen stimulates the increase the thyroxine binding globin. Free thyroxine level remains is normal. So what is the reason behind that? There is a depletion of the iodine pool occurs due to the increased renal excretion of iodine. This leads to the moderate increases in size of the thyroid gland. Okay, and what's the next? We are going to see that thyroid function. Thyroid shows a moderate enlargement. Estrogen stimulates the increase of thyroxine binding globulin. Free thyroxine levels remains normal, which means the increasing the glomerular filtration rate increases the renal clearance of iodine. So what will happen? So depletion of the iodine pool occurs due to the increased renal excretion of the iodine. So what will happen here? Mainly the high level of circulating the estrogen in the later part of pregnancy increases the thyroxine binding globulin. So its production. So therefore the secretion of the T3 and T4 be increased. So euthyroid states is maintained the pregnancy. So what are things will be happen in the genital tract? So it will increase the vascularity and hyperemia of the vagina and perineum and vulva, and increase the secretions and characteristics of the violet color of the vagina, and hypertrophy of the papilla of the vaginal mucosa, and uterine blood flow is being increased 100 ml per minute to 1200 ml per minute, because the uterine vessels are going to be maximally dilated. So it happens in the genital tract. And what happens to the skin as a melasma, which means the brownish patches on the face, neck, also the mask of the pregnancy, more commonly seen in the dark skinned people. So striae will be present. So pinkish white streaks are seen on the breast and thighs and the abdomen. So they remain after the pregnancy also as a glistening the silver lines and the linea nigra. And followed by that there is a pregnancy test, and the pregnancy test during the pregnancy the human chorionic gonadotropin is secreted by the placenta. Actually the pregnancy test is a test used by the detect to confirm or detect or confirm the pregnancy. So the basis of the pregnancy test is to determine the presence of human chorionic gonadotropin in the urine of women suspected for the pregnancy. So it contains both biological as well as the immunological tests are available to determine the presence of HCG, which means a human chorionic gonadotrophin in the urine of the pregnant woman. So now we are going to see the what is a biological test. So biological test, actually there is a different types of the test will be present, and just wait. Either is a Alchim Zondek test, as a Hogben test, and Gallimanini test, and Friedman test. So these are the tests comes are Cooperman test. So these are tests comes under the biological test. So either the male or female animals are used for the taking this biological test. So what is the procedure? Better how to mention the procedure. So morning urine samples collected from the doubtful mother around the 60 to 17th day of the amenorrhea. The 3 to 5 ml of the urine injected into the peritoneal cavity of the animal, either is a rat, rabbit or mice. Into the dorsal lymph sac is a case of frog also for period indicated the following chart. So followed by that we are going to be checking whether there will be changes will be noted and pregnancy is going to be confirmed. So these are the things, this comes under the biological test. Yeah, so these are the tests is the Alchin Zontex test, is a Copperman test, a Friedman test, is a Hockman test, is a Cali Manini test. So these are immature female mice, and maximum is a rabbit, a toad, or as a frog. These are things is going to be helpful to checking this test. And we are going to see about this immunological test. So the presence of a human coronary gonadotrophin is also determined by using the immunological techniques. The immunological tests are based on the double antigen antibody reaction commonly performed in a immunological test is known as a Grave index test. Okay. So it is a hemoagglutination test and is a latex agglutination test and one-step immunoassay test. And followed by there is a ELISA, and which means the enzyme like immunoabsorbent assay, and otherwise is the radio immunoassay. So these are tests comes under the immunological test. So in hemoagglutination test is urine contains a HCG plus antisera, so equal to antibodies are going to be used to above mixed with the sheep or BC coated with the HCG. So there is no agglutination is a negative test, it be indicated the pregnancy. So positive test be indicates the no pregnancy. Okay, and followed by that we are going to see the ELISA. So both the above tests are used quantifications of the HCG. So here the high level HCG also seen in the following condition retained in the placenta, hydatid mole, coroneo epithelioma, and teratoma of testis. In these conditions also is going to be high level of HCG will be present. And next we are going to see about the placental functions. So what are the functions of the placental area and placenta? Okay, first of all we have to know about what's the placenta. It is a maternal part and the fetal part. So maternal part is called as a deciduous large blood sinuses carrying the maternal blood partitioned by the fibrous septa, and there's a fetal part is a finger like projection is called as a chorionic villi that project into the maternal blood sinuses. So there is a placenta. So how it look like, let me show the diagram is to understand. And this is a placenta which is covered by the baby, and followed by that there is a fetal surface is umbilical cord is going to be cut here, and this is the amnion partially going to be removed, and this is a maternal surface, this is the interior surface. And what will happen, yeah, this is a part, so it will be a surgical part, and followed by there is a, I hope you are able to see this one clearly visible of the placenta. And these are the circulations, the maternal arteriole, maternal venules will be present. So umbilical, the fetal portions as well as the maternal portion. There is a two type of portions. This comes under the placenta. So now we are going to see about this one. Actually, it is a covering. It is going to contain the fluid. Actually, what is a placenta? Actually, there is covering of the baby along with the amniotic fluid. So this covering is called as a placenta. And what is the function of the placenta? So here is the overall function of the placenta is going to need tissue and storage, synthesis, and excretory. So glucose and amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins transfer from the maternal blood towards the fetus, and storage where it's going to be stored is a glycogen lipid stored for the use by the fetus to for the emergency conditions. And synthesis, what are the synthesis it takes places? Placenta synthesis the fructose from the glucose and the proteins from the amino acids. So what are the excretory products is a urea, uric acid, creatinine transferred from the fetus to the maternal side. And followed by the there's a what is the role of the body defense is the placenta filter the bacteria virus and kill them, thereby protecting the fetus. Some immunoglobulins are transferred into the fetus providing the immunity, and the respiratory part is the O2 diffuses from the mother to fetus and carbon dioxide be fetus to mother. So O2 uptake the fetus is the facilitated by the following three factors: hemoglobin, fetus, and followed by that there is a fetus containing the more hemoglobin, double bore effects. So these are the things is comes under the factors, and followed by there is a overall functions. So HCG, estrogen, progesterone, and HCS, which means the human chorionic somatotropin, and is a relaxin, inhibin, activin, and placental thyroid stimulation hormone, and pregnancy specific beta 1 glycoprotein, and the releasing hormone, gonadotropin releasing hormone, and antidiuretic peptide. So they are actually the other major functions placenta of secretion of the hormone like. So these are the hormones is apart from that one. And to know about the what is a human chorionic gonadotropin, because we have to the we have to told about this more thing about the human gonadotropin. So we have to understood what is the human chorionic gonadotropin. It is produced up by the placenta. The human chorionic gonadotropin is a gonadotropin. It is secreted from the syncytotrophoblast of the placenta. So what happened? The syncytotrophoblast cells start producing the HCG between the 6 to 8 days after the fertilization. So what is the main function? So what is the secretions means? So it's going to be secreted appears the maternal plasma as early the 6th day of the after fertilizations. So then the concentration will decrease to the 75% of the 25th week. So what is the main function means? So it is stimulate the progesterone production from the corpus luteum, and HCG plays the critical role as a placental steroidogenesis, and is going to be helpful to make the sexual differentiation and to stimulate the vomiting centers into the brain. So these are the things it becomes under the gonadotropin hormones. Okay, next we are going to see about this one. Is going to stimulate the growth of the testes and production of the testes in the male fetus, and stimulate the growth of the breast gland, and stimulate the formation of the primordial follicles in the fetal ovary, and stimulates the androgen production from the fetal adrenal cortex. It is a high level urine during the first trimester to help in the diagnosis of the pregnancy, and followed by that there is a human chorionic somatotropin. So which means what is that? So the human chorionic somatotropin is also called as the human placental lactogen. That's why it's called as HPL. It's placental lactogen. So so what will happen? So what is the functions mainly? In this it will promote the growth of mammary gland and stimulate the production of the milk, and it stimulates the somatic growth of the fetus. And so what will happen? It won't be maternal liposis and releases the free fatty acid from the fat tissue. And what will happen? It is a large amount of maternal blood but do not reach the fetus. Biological effect reverse those insulin increase in the utilization of lipids, make the glucose more readily available up to fetus and for milk production. And if the HCSB level is a proprioception to placental size and decrease the level of indicate the placental insufficiency. So next is the estrogen is the level increase throughout the pregnancy. 90% of the produces by placenta, and placenta production is transferred to both the maternal as well as the fetal compartment. So estrogen is released into the maternal circulation and maintain the uterine structure and functions. However, the estrogen, we have to see the progesterone also. Actually it helps to level of increasing throughout the pregnancy. 80 to 90% of the produced by the placenta and secreted to the both fetus and mother. The progesterone in the maternal circulation maintain the uterine structure and functions, memory growth and development, inhibition of the pituitary neurotrophin. So what will happen in the relaxing is causes the relaxation of the pubic ligaments and causes the dilation of the cervix, and followed by that, so fetoplacental unit. So fetoplacental unit, the mother requires a lot of estrogen plus progesterone. The fetal and placental structures will interact with the producing the steroid hormones. So this is a fetal better have to progesterone. So here there is a cycle. So how can we progesterone and the estrogen is going to be make the cycle? And what is the main function of the fetoplacental unit? Production of the estrogen and progesterone, which are the essential for the maintenance of the pregnancy and initiation of the parturition. I hope you will be understand the fetoplacental unit. I will repeat again. So what is the fetoplacental unit? So the fetoplacental unit is going to be as a refers interaction between the fetus and placenta in the formation of the steroid hormones. So here the interaction between the fetus and placenta occurs in the because of some of the enzymes involved in the steroid synthesis present in the fetus or absent in the placenta, and those enzymes which are absent in the fetus or present in the placenta. So here due to interaction and during the synthesis of the steroid hormones, fetus and placenta are together called as a fetal placental unit. So placenta and fetus be interacted with each other in the synthesis of steroid hormones of following manner. Now easy to understand. This is a mother, this is a placenta, and this is a fetus. Okay. So the cholesterol, which is the precursors for the steroid hormones, is obtained by the placenta from the mother blood. So placenta synthesizes the pregnenolone from the cholesterol. From the pregnenolone, the progesterone is formed. Okay, so some amount of pregnenolone from the placenta. So what will happen? The fetal liver also is going to be produces a small quantity of the pregnenolone. So the pregnenolone from the placenta and fetal liver forms a substrate in the following two substances in the adrenal gland of the fetus is a DHEA, which means a dehydroepiandrosterone sulfate. Dehydroepiandrosterone sulfate. So here is going to be become as a dehydroepiandrosterone sulfate become as a 16 hydroxylated into the 16 dehydroepiandrosterone sulfate, and what will happen? So it becomes the converted as the estrogen. Okay, so the estradiol will be just a transporter, and so what will happen? The estrogen is going to be transferred towards the mothers. So here this is the first one, the progesterone. The progesterone is going to become the placenta and cortisols, and is going to be just make the changes in the pregnenolone, and it is converted as a dehydroepiandrosterone. So this is going to be converted in the hydroxylated, so 16 hydroxylated dehydroepiandrosterone sulfate, and so it's coming from the fetus to the placenta again. So it will be converted as the estrogen. Once it becomes as the estrogen, so what will happen is going to be reached towards the mother. Okay, again I have to repeat this. What is the uses of the function of the fetoplacental unit? So we've seen about this, how can there is a estrogen and progesterone going to be developed from the mother's placenta and the fetus, isn't it? So the production of the estrogen and progesterone, which are the essential for the maintenance of the pregnancy. So that's the reason is going to make the cycle, and it's going to be make the keep on production of the estrogen and progesterone to maintain the pregnancy, and it helps to as a initiation of the pituitary. Okay, so these two processes will be mainly important, so that is the reason there is a feto-placental union will be occur. So I hope you'll be understand the topics. So you have any doubt, any clarification, just text or comment, or you have to be asked to me directly. Okay, so this is a one first part. This is a pregnancy as well as the this in the pregnancy as well as the placental functions. Okay, thank you.